This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Monday, December 7th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin with this. Two Georgia Senate candidates facing runoff elections squaring off in a debate last night. All eyes are on this race because it determines who controls the United States Senate. The debate showed stark differences between Republicans and Democrats in this field.
You can see what's at stake. There are two visions for our country. Mine, the American dream. My opponent, socialism. Chuck Schumer said it best. Now we take Georgia, then we change America.
There are those who are engaged in the politics of division. They have no vision, and so they engage in division. Health care is on the ballot. Workers are on the ballot. Voting rights is on the ballot.
Over the weekend in Georgia, President Donald Trump rallied for Georgia Republican Senate candidates and called on Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp to order a special session over what many Republicans believe was election fraud. The Trump's legal challenges will now have to continue temporarily without Rudy Giuliani after he tested positive for COVID-19. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's legal team is celebrating a judge's order in Michigan, which is allowing them to probe nearly two Dominion voting machines in Antrim County for signs of election fraud. The pandemic has uncovered a hidden threat: America's heavy reliance on China for prescription drugs. CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips explains that danger and what it might pose.
Over the last 20 years, the U.S. has outsourced much of its drug manufacturing to China. Now, the lower cost made it seem like a good idea at the time, but now, in the middle of a pandemic, the U.S. could find itself at China's mercy.
This is very hidden from the American public. It took me 3 years to figure this out.
Author Rosemary Gibson wrote China RX 2 years ago. In it, she chronicled America's over-reliance on China for generic prescription drugs and pointed out a potential result of that dependence.
And that prediction was, in the event of a natural disaster or a global pandemic, if China shuts the door on exports, on sending us these important products, the United States could end up standing in line with other countries to get these core components for our medicines.
2 years later, COVID-19 is rocking the world, setting the stage for Gibson's warning to possibly come true.
We have production shutdowns in China because people were not going to work. Transportation routes and logistics have been disrupted.
Right now, we buy generic drugs from China for numerous conditions, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diabetes, high blood pressure, HIV/AIDS, depression.
We can't make the generic antibiotics that mothers give to their children for ear infections, or that you take for bronchitis or pneumonia.
Gibson says that's because China controls the core chemicals to make them. She says China makes 10% of our generic drugs, and with that amount growing, they could soon name their price.
Our dependence will be total.
It's a problem so serious, Gibson recently testified, along with other experts, on Capitol Hill.
There's no question the coronavirus is causing a concern on our supply chain on drugs. That's a fact, and we need to be able to have domestic productions. That's a need.
A need that could lead to a solution.
We have to bring our ability to make our medicines back home. We have some tremendously talented, innovative people in this country, and they want to start making medicines in a quicker, faster, cheaper way.
Gibson pointed out, however, that companies will need government backing to get it done. Otherwise, China will undercut them.
What the medicine dependency of the United States on unreliable and probably dangerous Chinese suppliers represents is a microcosm of what the Chinese have been doing to us for decades.
Gibson says COVID-19 has provided a costly wake-up call that was necessary.
It's become real. It's not theoretical. This is real. And so this is a motivation for us to fix it.
The other issue is quality control. Gibson says some of the medicines from China have either been contaminated or not contained any medicine at all results that do not bode well for the American consumer. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Want to turn now to Hawaii, where agents arrested a couple after boarding a flight with their 4-year-old son, knowing they had tested positive for COVID-19. A Hawaiian television reporter tweeted a police spokesperson saying that Wesley Morib and Courtney Peterson knowingly boarded a flight from San Francisco to Hawaii aware of their COVID-19 test results. They were charged with reckless endangerment in the 2nd degree. Their child was traveling with them and was released into the care of a family member. Some public preschool students are heading back to class in New York City. Schools are reopening after being closed due to rising COVID-19 and the surging concerns. Preschool through 5th graders are back in their classrooms today. Thursday, special needs students are expected to return as well. Middle and high schoolers will not return until after the winter break. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu celebrated the 3rd anniversary of President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital with a special honor. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl is on this story.
President Trump, Donald, exactly 3 years ago, you became the first world leader to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
In the ceremony, Netanyahu announced the proclamation would be displayed alongside President Harry S. Truman's 1948 proclamation recognizing the newly established State of Israel.
These two historic proclamations will never be forgotten. They'll never be forgotten by the Jewish people and by the Jewish state. They will be cherished for generations.
Netanyahu then noted other positive moves made by Trump on behalf of Israel.
You recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. You recognize Israel's legitimate rights in Judea and Samaria. You proposed a realistic peace plan that acknowledges those rights and maintains Israel's ability to defend itself. You forged the historic Abraham Accords, which ushered in a new period of peace that is dramatically changing the face of the Middle East before our very eyes. And rather than appease those who chant death to America and death to Israel in Tehran, you withdrew from the dangerous nuclear Iran deal, placed crippling sanctions on Iran, and took out the world's most dangerous terrorist, Qasem Soleimani.
U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman joined Netanyahu in praising the move.
In recognizing Jerusalem, President Trump also did something else. He sent a clear message to the world that the United States stands unflinchingly with its allies and that the United States bases its foreign policy on the truth, not on wishful thinking or upon fantasy. That message has since reverberated throughout this region and other regions, and it has made the world a safer place.
Netanyahu noted that Jews around the world will celebrate Hanukkah starting this week. The holiday marks the Jewish Maccabean victory over their Greek-Syrian oppressors 2,000 years ago.
Thanks to you, Mr. President, we, the descendants of the Maccabees, can celebrate that alliance between the reborn Jewish state and the most powerful country on earth is stronger than ever. And we celebrate the fact that the American flag flies high atop the new American embassy that you, President Trump, moved to our glorious eternal capital, Jerusalem.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Today marks the 79th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, the Empire of Japan launched an air raid on the U.S. Navy base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, sinking most of the Pacific Fleet and killing 2,400 men and women. It happened on a Sunday morning just before 8 a.m., a surprise attack with hundreds of Japanese fighter planes covering the base at once in a relentless attack. 8 battleships and more than 300 airplanes destroyed. The United States declared war against Japan the next day. President Franklin Roosevelt famously said it was a day that would live in infamy. Coming up, an emotional plea on video for somebody to do something about the LA lockdowns by one business owner who points out what she believes is clear bias. Stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
A weary restaurant owner in Los Angeles is pleading for help after the latest lockdown there that could put her out of business. She was forced to shut down her outdoor dining area due to the latest restrictions by the mayor, even though a movie company was allowed to set up an outside eating area nearby. Angela Marsden voiced her frustrations in a video that has now gone viral with millions of views. She explained how she and other business owners are struggling to survive.
This is dangerous. Mayor Garcetti and Gavin Newsom is responsible for every single person that doesn't have unemployment, that does not have a job, and all the businesses that are going under. And we need your help. We need somebody to do something about this.
And FaithWire.com's Dan Andros is joining us now with more on this story. So Dan, as we said, millions have watched this woman's appeal and can feel her raw emotions and frustrations. What is she and others now facing with the lockdowns in Los Angeles and other parts of California?
Yeah, well, we're seeing increased lockdowns across the country, but it's probably none more pronounced than in California, where she was already, this restaurant owner you just watched, was already facing restrictions from countywide measures that ban things such as indoor and outdoor dining. And then the mayor of Los Angeles, who she mentioned in that clip, Eric Garcetti, said it's, quote, time to cancel everything. And in his ban, he mentioned that he would ban all forms of travel. That included walking on foot, bicycle, scooter, motorcycle, taking all forms of public transportation. So these are extreme measures. People are extremely frustrated about that because as you see a woman like this, who's just trying to keep her small business going, and then she comes out and sees that there is an exception being made. And so people are looking at this and wondering, well, is this virus like knowing which businesses that it should attack and not attack? I mean, how are these exceptions being made? And clearly this frustration is resonating across the country. A GoFundMe has been launched to help her in her restaurant, the Pineapple Hill Saloon, and she has received over $100,000 in donations so far. They were only asking for $10,000 in the post, and it's been $100,000 or more, and that's from thousands of people across the country. So clearly people are fed up with seeing and living with these sorts of strict measures.
Churches are also being advised to close while other businesses are being allowed to remain open. Take us inside this divide here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really something else because among the restrictions are indoor worship services are being restricted in California. And, you know, people are watching the Governor Gavin Newsom, and he was asked by reporters, including reporters from the Associated Press, what is the science to back up some of these measures? And he really ducked and dodged the question and didn't provide actual science because that's usually the bludgeon that a lot of these politicians use. Is they just say, well, it's the science. Well, somebody asked him to provide the science, and he kind of dodged the question and didn't really give any answers as to show why are big box stores not spreading the virus, and yet these small mom and pop stores are. You had Neil Gorsuch called out this hypocrisy. He said that it's past time to make plain that while the pandemic poses many grave challenges, there's no world in which the Constitution tolerates color-coded executive edicts that reopen liquor stores and bike shops, but shutters churches and synagogues. So he's pointing out this seemingly arbitrary standard that these politicians are using. And then Governor Gavin Newsom himself, after he told people not to go anywhere and not to dine outdoors, was caught famously going to a fancy lunch where he was indoors with lots of people sitting close with no masks. So people are starting to really get frustrated, and we may see this boil over soon.
Dan, looking at faithwire.com, there's also a story of an 11-year-old committing suicide during a Zoom class in California. What does this say about the stress brought on about reporting and management of the pandemic now?
Yeah, and there's no details on. I mean, obviously it's a suicide, and you don't know exactly what the reasons are. But he was on a Zoom class. He was, remote learning in California, and so a horribly tragic event here, regardless of the circumstances. But these are some of the worries that people have. When it comes to the effects of what we're doing with these restrictions and reducing human interaction. We just don't know the severity of what we're doing mentally to people, and what is the human toll that this is taking on all these lockdowns. So, people are really concerned that we're just scratching the surface on what we're about to see on that front.
Before we let you go, real quick, what's ahead this evening on Faith versus Culture?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a major stumbling block, a foundational stumbling block that a lot of people have to the faith, talking about how can a good God send loving people to hell? And we tackle that question by answering the faulty premise that, well, we're good people. So we talk about what is our true standing with God and try to help shed some light on that topic.
All right, Dan Andros with Faithwire. I want to remind you at home that you can watch Faith versus Culture this evening. It begins at 8:30 Eastern, and of course you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, a look at America Lost, a new documentary exploring real lives and real struggles across cultural lines, even before the pandemic, and how faith and family can help turn things around. We've got that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. We'll be right back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
The pandemic is not just a public health issue. It is expected to expand poverty abroad and here at home, with millions still out of work and businesses shuttering. A documentary called America Lost documented the decline of 3 American cities pre-COVID, produced by the Discovery Institute and the Heritage Foundation. It shows people committed to changing the cities where they live and work through faith and family, as well as community, rather than riots, with the true stories of people battling crime, economic decline, and the breakdown of traditional institutions. Chris Ruffo with the Discovery Institute worked on the documentary for years and spoke with CBN's Faith Nation about how it grew into something much more powerful than even he first imagined.
You spent time in Youngstown, Ohio, Memphis, Tennessee, and Stockton, California, where you described as forgotten cities. What did you discover?
Yeah, I discovered that the crisis, no matter who's in office, whether you have a Democrat or Republican in the Oval Office, many hundreds, if not thousands of cities and towns across the United States are struggling with intergenerational poverty, with the breakdown of families, with the tearing of the social fabric. And it's time that we spend some time thinking about these places, learning how they're coping, and trying to understand how they could revive themselves in the future.
Chris, real quickly, can you talk about how you came up with the project idea?
Yeah, I wanted to do a story that transcended geographic and racial lines. So we feature one working class white community in Youngstown, Ohio, in the old kind of Rust Belt North. We feature an African-American urban community in Memphis in the Deep South. And then we find characters that are Latino and multiracial in Stockton, California. And it really just goes to show that the great shredding of the social fabric affects people of all backgrounds. It's something that we can come together on, both to diagnose the problem and come up with solutions that work for everyone.
Chris, real quickly here, you put 5 years into this project, spending time with a felon, getting back on his feet, a woman whose childhood neighborhood descended into squalor, and others working to change the world by starting with themselves first. Briefly, what did you learn, and what can we learn from their stories?
You know, I didn't go out seeking this story, but one thing I found over and over and over in America's poorest neighborhoods, the faith community, those local churches are really the bedrock of the social order, the bedrock of people's lives, and also have the most successful programs, teaching people how to get back off their feet, bringing people in off the streets, helping people recover from drug abuse, uniting families. And these kind of often unsung heroes in the faith community are really on the ground fighting the good fight and should have all of our support.
How are faith and family doing in society today? Is America lost?
Yeah, I mean, it is. But, you know, one thing about being lost, you can always find your way again. And I think what you've seen since the 1950s is that the family, especially in the poorest communities and neighborhoods, has really fallen apart. And I think that it's, according to all the thousands of people I met in these cities, is really the thing that people feel is most acutely lost, and we need to really restore. So I think, you know, I saw a lot of heartbreak in these places, but I also saw a lot of hope. I wouldn't count America down for the count at all. I think our best days are still ahead.
Chris, real quickly before we go, where can people find the film?
Sure. All of your viewers can actually watch the film in its entirety for free at americalostfilm.com/premiere. That's americalostfilm.com/premiere. You can watch the trailer, watch the whole film for free. I think it's really it's something important and something that sheds a lot of light on a story that is often never told.
All right, Chris Ruffo, thank you for being with us and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, it's an old-fashioned Christmas at the home of Vice President Mike Pence and his family. We'll take you there. Stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
And welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Christmas decorations are on display everywhere as we approach the holiday, including at the home of Vice President Mike Pence and his family. The second family recently unveiled Christmas decorations adorning their residence at the Naval Observatory here in the nation's capital. Among the sights at this year's old-fashioned Christmas theme, it included 35 wreaths, vintage toys, and more than 1,000 ornaments. It also includes a nativity scene depicting the birth of Jesus Christ. Beautiful there. Time now for your Monday motivation. I want to leave you with this thought. It is never too late to leave a good thing. Sounds strange? Well, good may be comfortable, but that good comfortable is often the enemy of great. So I encourage you today, don't settle, dream again, dream bigger, dream greater, dream God dreams. And there is no denying this fact. God is not just good, He is great. With that word, I encourage you to make today a marvelous Monday, and be sure to do that on purpose. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know what you think about all the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at the address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make it a marvelous Monday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.